Okay, so in the process of creating many of the different types of questions, I've taken the exit ticket that I created 3 times. So I'm under the responses tab, and you'll see I have 3 responses. The first one you've watched me do. I'm pretty sure you watched the other 2 during the image video. And so I just kind of want to talk about, how you grade responses. And you'll see like here, I'm getting an overview of the whole class, and then again, the individual responses, either by clicking on the individual student and then going through the individual students' responses. So the student's done very well, except for this one. And then going through like this. Now, this can be very tedious. So looking at the students' responses this way and trying to grade short answer questions or long answer questions by going through each individual essay. But you may or may not like that. Maybe this is fine for you. And if this works for you, that's great, but I want to give you some other options. So you'll see those last 2 students. Remember the first one we released scores. So remember, you can release individual scores for each kid, or you can release from the summary, release all scores. And then again, they get that email that you just saw. So I'm going to take my quiz one more time, and remember, under your settings, you have to have it unchecked until you're done taking your quiz as tests and so forth. You can always come back and change that. So I'm going to take it one more time, and this time I'm going to take it as an answer key. And I'm going to show you some things that we can do to streamline your grading. So I'm going to take this as answer key, and then let's hope that I remember the score and like the answer. So you're actually going to put in all of the answers into this the correct way. And again, don't judge me. This is just based on the answers that I've programmed in here. And then I took out a couple of the questions after this. So select all that were a part of the Columbian exchange going to Europe. And I selected those, and then I'm going to hit submit. Okay, so again, I still have that message. That's fine. I'm just going to click and go back here, and now I have 4 responses, and my 4th student got an 8 out of 10, even though it's the answer key. So let's see what they did here. Answer key. Oh, this is not graded. That's good. Score. Oh, so I have to give them points. So trade route is correct. So I give them a point, and then Spanish was correct. And so they should actually get a 10 out of 10. And then all of these are graded here. So, and it automatically, do you see this pulled? Because I got the right ones, all 3 correct here. So I'm going to hit save. So if I now click over to this spreadsheet, and I know most of you are like, I don't like spreadsheets, but the spreadsheet actually kind of streamlines what you see from your students. So I do recommend that you utilize the spreadsheet tool. So if you click on the create spreadsheet, it'll create a new spreadsheet. You can actually filter your responses into the same spreadsheet. So if you had multiple sets, you could actually have them go into separate sheets within the same spreadsheet. There's a lot of benefit to that. I was going to talk about it in this class, but I think it's just not necessary. Unless you're like a super uber advanced user, you may or may not use that feature. So I'm going to go ahead and just click create. I'm just going to click create a new one, and it's going to name it the same exit ticket and then responses. Clicked on the number, and I just dragged it up. And the reason why is because I wanted my answer key to be on the top. Here, and I can go across the top like this and see all of the answers. So option 1, option 2, option 4. and then here. So something that I recommend doing would be for these short answer questions, a really great way to be able to get an idea that students have the right answer right away is to use what's called conditional formatting. And so if you set conditional formatting, it'll automatically tell you whether or not these are correct. I'm not so much worried about any of the multiple choice or the checkbox questions because those are actually graded right within the Google form itself really, really quickly, right? So like it already automatically brought those in. It's just these short answer questions we have to go through and add points, and that kind of becomes tedious. So I like the idea of doing what's called conditional formatting. So what I'm going to do is click on format and then conditional formatting. And so for conditional formatting, I'm selecting the row G. So do you see this? That G is highlighted. So if you have the column highlighted, so apply to range, and then I'm just going to click on G to G, apply to range, G to G. There we go. G to G. I'm going to click OK. And so now it's going the whole G to G, and then format the cells. If you see how it says cell is not empty, I'm going to change that and say that text is exactly, or text contains. It's either one of these would work really well. So I'm going to go with text contains, just because if they capitalize, I'm going to go with that it's okay. So I'm going to type in trade route. And the style is going to be, I'm going to change the color. I want the color to be like a really bright green. And then if I hit done, any of the questions that have an answer that say trade route, do you see this? They're going to be green. So green is obviously good. I'm going to trash this extra one here. That was just from the first one. And then I'm going to say add a new rule and apply to range. And I'm going to click on this. And instead of doing G, I'm going to do H now, H to H. So I'm just clicking on H. And I click OK. And then again, if the cell text contains, and I'm going to do Spanish, and hopefully capitalization is not going to matter, although I personally think that it should be capitalized. And again, I'm going to do green. And you see that look. So the capitalization, because I'm doing the text contains and does not equal, it would work, but you could do each. And then I'm going to go ahead and click done. And do you see that? So now it's green. It's good. So I think if I click in here and I click add another rule, and I'm going to say text does not contain Spanish. So instead of text does not contain Spanish, I want it to be red. And I'm going to click done. And now what's going to happen is it's Portuguese. I can see that's a really dark red. I'm going to click on it again and change it to be a little bit lighter red. I don't love that red. You guys are like, Jackie, really, with this red. And now you'll see, look, it's gonna, by doing that, it's going to make all of them red until it goes through. I'm going to actually do the same thing to the trade route. So let me do this one. So I'm clicking, so click on G, and I'm going to do the same thing, add another rule, and this time I'm going to say text does not contain trade route, and I'm going to change it to red. And this is a really easy way to show right with a glance what's right or what's not right. I don't love this red still. You're like, seriously. What's correct and what's not correct in a blink. And so now I can just go like boop, 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 right across the row, and I can say, oh, this student got this one wrong. And that's an easy way to quickly get that. Now, do you see how my headers are formatted? And that's because we did the G to G and the H to H. If you didn't want that, you could change it to be, if you click in here where it says H1, if you click it to actually start with H2, which is the answer key, or you could even start with H3, which is not the answer key. You could do it like that and then just hit done, and it'll change it so that your header is not formatted, which is nice. And you could do the same thing with the G. So just changing it from that G1 to G2, and then just changing this as well. So that's a real easy way to see answers and right or wrong. And then, I mean, you could look at this, and then if you wanted to, you could come back to the form and give the credit this way and release the score through here. But you can also do what's called an add-on called Flubaroo, which could do all of the grading from in here as well. So if you have a lot of short answer questions, using the grading feature through Google Forms is tricky because you're gonna have to do a ton of grading in here, or using kind of this conditional formatting feature over here. So you can set this up to just do all of the grading in here. So if you wanted to do like multiple choice checkbox types questions through the Google form and use the grading that way, that's one option that you have, or one tool that you have in your tool belt. And then the other option or tool would be to use what's called Flubaroo on this part if you have a ton of short answer questions. Now, because I have created this user here called answer key, and I moved and to the top, I can do a couple of things. And one of the things that I like to do is I like to freeze this row so that it stays at the top. So to freeze rows and columns, which are really nice, you could also freeze like the email address, so when you're scrolling left and right, you can still see the student. So to do that, if you go to View and then Freeze, I'm going to choose 2 rows. So the first 2 rows, and you see this kind of line here, and now these can kind of be highlighted, which is nice. Like if you wanted to highlight them just to draw attention to them, maybe I should use a different color, purple. And then if you scroll, they stay to the top, and as responses come in, you see that they'll stay at the top, which is nice. And then I'm also going to freeze these 2 columns. So again, View, Freeze, and then I'm going to choose 2 columns. And then if you're scrolling to the right, do you see this? You'll still be able to see the student as your grading work to the right, which is nice. So those are a couple tricks of the trade. Love those tricks. All right, so we have an answer key in here, and now we're going to use a tool that's called Flubaroo. But this is, the nice thing about Flubaroo is that it's going to grade all of these automatically for you at any point. You can set it up to auto grade for yourself as well. So before I actually go ahead and run Flubaroo on this, I have my answer key. All my answers are programmed. I'm pretty excited about that. We have this checkbox question. And basically what's happening is that option 1, 2, and 4 are correct. And so I want students who put in option 1 and 2 to get credit for those, and students who put in option 1 to get credit for that, option 2 to get credit for that, and then all of the above. So to do that with Flubaroo, you actually just click into the spreadsheet where you have your checkbox question, and you put in %CB space. And what that's going to do is it's going to tell Flubaroo that this is worth a point, this is worth a point, and this is worth a point. So the whole question is worth 3. If you check any one of those, you get a point. And cumulative up from that. So checking 1, checking 2, checking all 3. But what it also will do is if the student checked 1, 2, and then option 3, they're actually only going to get 1 point because they lose a point for checking the wrong one. So that's kind of how it works. If you want to override that feature, you can override the feature by giving points differently. It's up to you. So just a %CB, and that goes out in front here. And there's some other modifiers that are available, like if you were accepting trade route or Columbian exchange, I don't know, whatever it is, another word, there's a percent or you'd put in between them, and I'll give you guys a list of the modifiers that you can put in or where to find that on the Flubaroo guide. I'll just include a link there. So I'm going to go up to add-ons. So it's add-ons, and I have it installed Flubaroo. If you don't have it installed, you say get add-ons. And it's usually one of the first ones here, but if it's not here, if you just search for Flubaroo, so once you install it, you come back to add-ons and you say Flubaroo, and then you're going to say enable Flubaroo in this sheet. Okay, so now that you've added Flubaroo, you come back up to add-ons and you go to Flubaroo, and then if it doesn't say this, it'll say like enable Flubaroo in your sheet, and you do that. And then you come back and you say, okay, grade assignment. And I have some additional videos on Flubaroo for you from forms class prior that I'll put in as resources. They are not required for you, but they're just resources for you. So down the left hand side, there's a spot to skip or grade by hand or do a normal grading. So I'm going to say skip because I'm not sure what that is. The score, you skip. So it's just reading each column in the spreadsheet. Identify student, it got the name, perfect. And then each one of the questions, normal grading. And then if you wanted to change these point values, you could increase the points, that you wanted to do here. So then you click continue. And then once this takes you through the next step, it's going to ask you for the answer key. It should actually pull it automatically. It typically looks for the first one. So it didn't. So that's why I put an answer key for the name. And it didn't really matter where in the sheet it is, but I like it to be at the top. And I like it to be frozen up there. So I click continue. And then it's going to grade my assignment. And then once it's finished grading an assignment, and you see it's tabbing me out at the bottom here. So it creates a new spreadsheet in the sheet, a new sheet in the spreadsheet. And it gives you kind of like quick data. And then it'll give you this grading complete section. They give you these little help tips like case sensitivity and so forth. And again, I'll send you all of those like little Flubaroo guides. So you'll see here my submission from here. And then you see here's those short answers. This is trade route. And then this was Spanish. And so those are graded automatically here, where they weren't graded automatically via the Google form, which is nice. So I'm going to take it one more time. So from the spreadsheet, it can actually say go to live form. And I'm going to take it one more time. I just want to show you more than just the one submission. So I'm going to put this in as a test. I'm going to get some right and get some wrong, just to show you. I mean, I'm technically not wrong with that statement, but I'm getting some right, some wrong. And then on this one, I want to get all three because I just want to show you. Now, if I did all four of them, I'm still only going to get that 66%. I won't get 3 out of 3 because it's going to subtract a point for giving the wrong answer if I did that. So I can click submit. Oh, I missed one, sorry. And then submit. So now what will happen here, a couple of things. So once I submit, so I can grade again from the Google form here, but I don't actually want to do that. What I want to do is show you, so the grading section in the spreadsheet stays the same, but under the submissions, I have a new student submission, and you'll see, look, my conditional formatting is just kind of rocking out down here. I know that this European question is wrong, and I can tell by the glance, and you can do the same thing for all of these, right? So if you wanted to conditionally format this, the correct answer is D. You'd be able to see at a glance. So if I came back up here, conditional formatting, and I want to apply I'm actually going to change this from I2, just so that it doesn't change my top. And then it's going all the way down, and it's exactly, in this case, D, and I want it to be lime green. And then I can, again, add another rule, is that if text is not equal to or does not contain D, I'm going to make it red. Let's do this and hit done. Let's see. And so you could do this for all of them, right? So like at a glance, you can see what your kids got right or wrong. You can conditionally format all of these. So you just click on this column, and then you do, again, add a new rule, same idea, skip the header. So start here. And so the correct text is exactly, or you could do contains B. In these case, they were multiple choice, so they're going to come in, and then I'm going to add another rule for the same range, and then change it to does not contain B. It's going to be red. So, I mean, at a glance, I can see how my kids are doing, and you can see the bar is processing each time. So that's a really handy tool. But so I resubmitted, and so my student, I know right now I'm getting a grade for 6 out of 10 from the Google form, but it's not grading these. So that would be 7 out of 10. And it is, so I got these correct. So I should have a 70%. So really, I should have a 70%. So how to get this to grade again is you come back up to add-ons. You go to Flubaroo and you say regrade, and what it'll do is it'll grade any new submissions. It's going to update my spreadsheet. It takes you through the process again, but it remembers your previous selections. So you just can kind of just like click continue. And it'll grade, and then it should update your spreadsheet with any new submissions and then your scores, which should be nice. And there you go. So now you see my new submission. Ooh, what did I do? I missed something here. Oh, here you go. Jackie times submitted 3. That's why I didn't grade all of them, because I didn't change who I was submitting as. Points, points, points. I got this one wrong. I got this one right. I got this one wrong. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I did horrible on these. 5. So, all right. So that's why I didn't do so well. So I should have gotten 7 points. And it's because I don't have this actually out of the right number. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so this is giving me just 1 point for this question. So I made the question out of 3 points. And so it wasn't out of 100. That's what's happening. So this was actually out of 3 points, this question. So in this particular case, they got 2 out of 3. And in this case, they got 3 out of 3. And this is really supposed to be worth 3. I don't want it to add up like that. I want it to be worth 3 points. So sorry, I did that wrong. So add-ons, Flubaroo. So now you'll see this is going to change. Hold on, I'm going to change this back. It'll change automatically. Flubaroo regrade assignment. On the last question, I set it to be out of 1. And I did that wrong. So I'm like, why is this not doing the math right? And this is why. So I made it a 3-point question, and each piece is worth partial credit. So this last one here, below is an example of the Columbian exchange. This was worth 3 points. So I want that to be a 3-point question. That's why the two were not equaling one another. So now if I click continue, it's going to regrade my assignment, and it should fix that error that you're seeing at the end of the sheet. So, and similarly to, there you go, 70%, perfect. So total 0.7, and now if you come over to the end, I got 3 out of 3, and this student got 2 out of 3. And it actually regraded. I know it looks exactly the way that I just changed it, but it's updated. Okay, so that works out nicely. So this is how Flubaroo works. It's a little bit clunkier. I mean, it's an additional script that runs. It doesn't run within the form.